a multi-million-pound contract that involved installing solar panels on dozens of prisons and courts will be scrapped. The Ministry of Justice says it will cancel the contract with French renewable energy firm ENGIE after revelations that the firm had links to forced labour in China was first reported in a Times newspaper. A report from Sheffield Hallam University found that ENGIE is a significant customer of Jinko Solar. Its research found Jinko Solar's production of ingots and wafers, components of solar panels, has links to forced labour in China, with the company co-located on a park with a detention centre. It says the Chinese regime has put millions of Uyghurs and Kazakhs in Xinjiang into what it calls surplus labour programmes, and Xinjiang produces around 45% of the world's polysilicon. A response from a question raised by Labour's Justice Minister Afzal Khan revealed the prison's panels were supplied by ENGIE. He says the government needs to do some checks. So what was your reaction to that when you found out about it?
Well, to be honest, I was really shocked because I think what has been happening in China, the world has been aware, and there's been a huge campaign for many years, particularly in to do with Uyghur community. So I was surprised, I was shocked, and I thought, how could government do this? And when they only needed to do few little checks, that they would have known. And yet clearly they didn't.
How do you think this had been agreed in the first place when there is a lot of awareness about it in the government?
Well, I think probably the key point now is, now that it's clear these things are happening, and the government actually needs to look at things. How exactly are they dealing with China? And how they're going to make sure that we're not indirectly supporting this, where forced labor has been used. So it's not just this one aspect. I think they need to look at other things as well and make sure this is not happening.
Can you give me a small insight into what the conditions are for the people in Xinjiang who are on the other side of this?
Well, from all the information and some of the witnesses who I've come across, it seems to be pretty appalling, in the 21st century. The very basic human dignity ideas of freedom to practice your faith, to go about your life, all those have been curtailed. And not only that, all forms of sterilization, body parts being used like that, rape, all those things are happening as well. It's just not acceptable. How can we close our eyes? We've said in the past that never again, that as humanity, we should never allow genocide to take place. And here before our eyes, there is evidence coming out more and more. This is what is happening, and therefore there is a moral duty here and the governments, they around the world needs to sit up and really make it clear to China. China's got an amazing history, amazing culture. They've are very powerful economically. But, this should not mean that we have to put up with genocide. The world doesn't need to do that. The world needs to make it clear to China that we will not do that. So that is the challenge.
A Ministry of Justice spokesperson said, "We will never tolerate the use of forced labour. In the absence of categorical assurances about the supply chain, we will cancel this contract immediately." The UK has led international action to hold China to account at the UN, imposed sanctions against senior Chinese officials, and introduced robust domestic measures in respect of supply chains. Neither ENGIE or Jinko Solar responded to NTD's request for comment. Jane Worrell, NTD News, London.